Classroom gestures. One of the 5 things I would never teach without. And although it started very simply, it really took off over the years. Amazing. I'm going to show you just a couple, just to get you thinking about this whole idea. It's in the big book, and this strategy solved this problem. I'm in the middle of a lesson, have a nice dialogue with my class, a little give and take, a little back and forth. At this point in my lesson, I see those 4 hands up. Here's my question. Which one of these students should I call upon first? Or let me ask that in a more critical way. Which one of these students has a question I must answer right now, or I will lose them for the rest of the lesson? And I had to admit to myself, I didn't know. How long have students been doing that? Is that the best we can do? I have no idea what's attached to those 4 hands. And the more I taught, the more I realized it's critical I reach out to question students first. I'm embarrassed to say, but I'll be honest. First couple years of teaching, I'd be in the middle of a lesson and one hand would go up. And I'd sometimes say, hey, would you just put your hand down and let me finish, please? Students going, okay, I can, but I raise my hand to ask what you're talking about because I'm kind of lost right now. But I'll be obedient and put my hand down and miss everything you're teaching from this point forward. And you can reteach it later if you want to, buddy. I thought, no, I need to be able to reach out. So just 1 year. Hey guys, I got a new idea. From now on, when you raise your hand in class and you have a question, do this, form a sign language I. That's going to tell me, hey, Mr. Morris, I have a question. I barely had that thought out and a student jumped in. Mr. Morris, I know the whole alphabet. My mom taught me. This is an A. We could do A for answer. And I was so unprepared for that. This is all I knew. That was my entire extent of sign language knowledge. That's the letter I. And now I'm hearing this other one. And I felt like saying, hey, Sparky, let's keep this simple. But you can't do that. I can't very well say, hey, I want you to try my idea, just don't ask me to try your idea. And a deeper thing was going on. It's filling another need. When he said, how about A for answer? He was looking for a bit of power. And that's a good kind of power. He wants to improve our classroom. Because if you give him positive power, which I learned to do, then a lot of that negative stuff goes away. Won't be an overnight change, but you'll see that as the year progresses. And that's all he was doing. Can I help? Can I contribute? Or is this going to be the Mr. Morris universe? And I'm just supposed to be a loyal, obedient subject. So he said, how about A for answer? I said, hey, why not? Then by the second day, we had added a new gesture. Because one of my students did this. Well, it's not a question, it's not an answer. I just wanted to say something. So we added C for comment. Although my last assignment was 3rd grade, it was actually C for I've got some pointless rambling story I'd like to tell right now. And that's good to know. And don't be surprised when you still see that. They've been doing that for years. That's muscle memory. It's a habit. But when they do that, guard your words. Hey, we're not doing it that way anymore. Do you know what that means when you put your hand up like that? That's why we're using these gestures. Don't know what that means. They've heard all that. They've heard it all. See, if you did that in my room, my response is nonverbal. I would quickly do this. And that almost always did. Almost always did it. And by the way, it's very entertaining. I look forward to it every year. That week when I introduce this, just that learning thing they go through. It's hysterical for about a week or so. I see this a lot. Oh, wait a second. What I got in my head here? What the heck? Question? Got a question? Then they started to play around with it, which is always good to see. I saw that one day from a student. Someone else figured out, I can do that with one hand. Check that out. 1 week was all it took. 1 week. And look, as opposed to that, with that massive uncertainty we face on a moment-by-moment basis, what if you saw that instead? Now see, that helps me a lot. Right now, I know to avoid those two. And I reach out to those two. So I can now prioritize who I call upon, which made the lessons more effective. So if I saw those 4 hands up, I stopped. I can't keep teaching. I can't just plow forward and ignore that. And I'll just stop. And I've learned not to call the name of the student. I've learned just to say, question. That alerts everybody else to why we've stopped. So I say question, and you get to ask right now. And we can resolve your conflict right now, which keeps you with us and moving forward. And I skip the comment hand for a moment, and I say, question. My students learned in 1 week. If I got a question, Mr. Morse calls on me first. What you will see in class is the overachievers figuring this out right away. You got overachievers going, Morse always calls on the question kids first, but I want to talk a lot in here. Oh, I know. And I'd say, question, and then I'd hear a comment. Oh, we went to the museum last week, and that's usually a snap moment, a bunch of words. I start to sign. We start the year with 5 gestures. We end the year with 50 or 60. It's ideal for the classroom. So if I'm hearing the fake question, I just do this. That's ASL for stop. In our room, that's a gesture that means, hang on, give me a second. And my only words would have been very simple words. That wasn't a question. It's a statement of fact. That wasn't a question. And I go to somebody else. And if that were to persist with that student, then once again, we go back to core principle number 4 and see him privately. Leave everybody else alone. Hey, when you put a question up in the air, no, save your words. See him privately. Young man, you're teaching me not to trust you, and that's not a good thing. You put a question hand up in the air, even though you know it's not a question, because you know I'll call upon you? That's not good. Remember the boy who cried wolf? Remember that story? Yeah, he got eaten. Remember that part of the story? What voice was that at the end? That was all inner voice. That was inner voice. I'm not going with the boy and the wolf. But when he realizes I'm serious about this, they get on board. They get on board. But the calmer you keep yourself, the calmer they are. We know this for a fact. Emotions are contagious. We know that. That's been proven clinically. Emotions are contagious. Hey, if you want to make this easier, see, perfect. You put the question hand up. I just did that. She put her hand down. Because that's a very powerful gesture we'll get to in just a second. But you can download posters from my website. They're also in the back of the big book if you have a copy of that. So if you go to my website, one of the side links talks about classroom gestures. And every sign gesture you see on that page 1, all in their own little 8.5 by 11 posters. And for the secondary guys, if your students have 3-ring binders on that same get the posters, there's a 1-page that kind of looks like the page you've got, but it's been cleaned up, and 3-hole punch that thing and distribute them, and they've got it. I started using that to deal with the kids doing this during my lesson. Hey, if I'm in the middle of a lesson and a student does that, the question thing, I'm going to stop. Right now, though, I don't want to stop for the comment. Why? I'm in the heart and soul of this lesson, almost at the key concept. The most important thing you're ever going to learn in your life. Before I can release that gem of wisdom, I got some student doing this in the back of the room. And this doesn't go away, does it? No. It doesn't go away. From our point of view, that is so annoying. Can't he tell I'm trying to finish? But if we switch spots, you'll realize he's annoyed too because I'm not calling upon him. Doesn't he see me? Doesn't he see me? And he's also thinking I can't put my hand down or I lose my place in the comment line. And right now, number one. I'm number 1. Oh, come on, Morris. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Call me. Bigger issue? I've lost him. He's not listening to me. Who's he listening to right now? He's rehearsing his comment. So I learned just to stop. The absence of your voice can be a cue. Just stop for a moment. Show that little gesture. And it's amazing how they put their hand down the way you did. And I'd nod my appreciation. I finished the point I was making. Now the tricky part is going back. That's the tricky part. But they get good at it. Also, if you're working in the classroom, Fred Jones calls it work in the room. So you guys call me over some question, what's going to happen? Other kids barge in. Without that simple little gesture, without the concept of nonverbal communication, I'm going to snap. Can you see we're talking right now? You're being rude. Just wait. Nobody needs that. No one needs that. Not when you can send the same message without the baggage by just doing that. And I will not interrupt our conversation. But I start a nonverbal conversation with a student. And what I'm saying is, I know you're right there. Give me a second, which is very reassuring. It also means for the little guys, you don't have to tap on me 100 times. But I'm talking to you guys. And as soon as I was done, I'd turn and say, hey, thanks for waiting. What can I do for you? And they get good at it. Now, question, thanks for waiting.
My question was, at this time of the year, how do we introduce these hand classes just one at a time or all of them?
Try and make it natural. Try and just make it a natural thing. But I would definitely start with the question. I just go ahead and start with question, answer, comment. And then throw in that little, hang on a second. They can handle all that stuff. And just be patient as they assimilate this new stuff. Just be patient, but they'll pick it up. Because the more you stick with it, the more consistent you are with it, then the better it gets all around. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what we're doing, hit that thumbs up button down below. Hit the subscribe button so you get all the videos that'll be coming your way. And something else to think about, maybe share one of these strategies with a teacher at your own site. So again, thanks for watching.